We'll take it from here. Hello and welcome to We'll Take It From Here. This episode's gonna be Alien Resurrection. I am Holden, aka Cuban Thor.
And this is Michael, also known as Father Malone.
Right, and before we get into our main topic of Alien Resurrection, I would like to bring up some of our happenings.
Happenings!
What's happening, hot stuff?
Let me tell you what's gonna happen.
So what's happening right now, Michael?
Let's go with The Defenders.
Let's go with The Defenders. What'd you think of the new trailer for The Defenders?
I'm gonna see it. You know, I love all those characters, so I'm really looking forward to seeing them together. The trailer left me a little cold, though.
You can't figure out right now. I'm staying quiet for effect.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Because I honestly have a better reaction than that. It was amazing.
Oh,
it was an amazing trailer.
Okay.
Iron Fist, Luke Cage punching each other, Luke Cage figuring out, oh, the glowy fist guy can hurt me.
Yeah, okay.
Fantastic.
Well, I like that the characters are sort of giving Iron Fist shit for, like, not, you know, for his...
Which
you
is
know,
great,
yeah,
the season wasn't that good.
Right.
I liked it. I know you don't like it so far.
Oh, well, no, I mean, look
finished
at...
it.
Iron Fist, yeah.
Yeah, Iron Fist.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I
like the
enjoyed it.
character in the comics.
The character's rad in the comics. I mean, Matt Fraction's run, hands down, is amazing. If anybody who's listening loves Iron Fist, has not read that, you're a fool. Go read it. It's amazing.
Take that, listeners.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this trailer. Like, it has every introduction I could think of. It hits every spot for me. And then you have our villain, who's going to be
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver, which ties into our episode today, who looks amazing.
Yeah, she looks great.
For a role that I have no idea what she's doing.
No, not... yeah, I mean, maybe that's the problem I have with the trailer. Like, it's just a bunch of random shots, and we don't get any of the plot yet, but I know that's what teasers are for. It's supposed to get you... It's supposed to whet your appetite a bit, and I'm gonna watch it, man.
Nirvana going in the background?
To me, that's the best part of the trailer, is the fact that they're using Nirvana.
I love it, because I'm the hugest fan of Daredevil, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And as a listener is now finding out, I'm the biggest Daredevil fan. Daredevil movie disappointed me so hardcore. The Daredevil show has
redeemed it,
has brought everybody into the fold, and the Daredevil is
that guy's
amazing
name?
Character. Well, whose guy's name?
Daredevil, the actor.
Charlie Cox?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox is the main character in Daredevil series.
See, he is the biggest fan.
Something that's also happening right now is that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 seems to be making its way to $1 billion. I don't know if it'll quite get there, but it's going to get close enough, which these Marvel movies basically is $1 billion in the bank almost every time.
Yeah, it's a money-printing machine.
Ridiculous, and honestly, the quality has not suffered at all. I think the only movie that we can probably debate that wasn't very good is maybe, Iron Man 2 and Thor 2?
Iron Man 2 more than Thor 2, I think, because there are parts of Thor 2 that I enjoy.
But, even by the critics, that movie is very well received, so I find it very odd that we now don't like it.
Yeah.
But I think it's because after watching so many Marvel movies, that movie really does not hold up very well.
Yeah, I think it's a bad movie in relation to other Marvel movies, which is still better than 99% of other comic book adaptations.
Yeah. So we also have, in a little bit of a Marvel news segment here, we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 is coming out. I know you haven't really watched this season, right?
Or any.
Any season? Hey, look, okay. Well, let me just talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. here. It's actually a solid show. It's not great. It's not perfect. There's a lot of issues. But I will say, for anybody who loves diversity, the main character, one of the main characters, is Asian female. She's amazing. She's playing into the superpower role. Ming-Na Wen is in this film. It's not in this film. Is in this show, and she's fantastic as the Cavalry.
She's always good, man.
As May, aka the Cavalry. And of course you have Phil Coulson with his quick, dry wit. It's a great show. Season 1 sucks until about the Winter Soldier happening, and then
which is what, episode 18?
Yeah, it's about 10, 15 episodes in. Sure, just skip everything of season 1 until that episode. Season 2 gets better because they introduce more of the Inhumans. Season 3 is more on the Inhumans front, and then season 4, which is the current season, brought in Ghost Rider right away. Brought in some L&Ds. I'm glad it's coming back for season 5.
Well, I will eventually watch it all.
You will watch it one day, and I think you'll actually will dig it. It's actually solid writing, which is surprising for a TV show about Marvel.
Was that Joss Whedon's brother, right?
Jed Whedon, yeah.
Jed
Whedon.
Jed and Joss.
I did not think hard on those names at all.
The Whedon boys. I know. Well, you know.
To get away from Marvel, we have King Arthur, the Guy Ritchie film, right?
Yeah.
With Charlie Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam just can't seem to make a good movie.
No, man, and he deserves to. I love that guy.
Yeah, great in Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ron Perlman is in that too. Tie-in.
There you go.
But we have.
I was once behind Charlie Hunnam at a Thrifty in Los Angeles at 2:00 in the morning.
Have you met everybody?
Not everybody, but I think most of the people we're going to talk about.
That's fantastic. But the movie looks like it's going to be the first bomb of the summer, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
The trailer looked interesting. Guy Ritchie always has enough in a film where you can at least enjoy it, despite the fact of it being bad.
Yeah, he's great visually. Yeah. I mean, I just think he can't figure out a good script to save his life.
I think he's always trying to do something new, which I really appreciate with a filmmaker. And it sometimes he's the first one to do something, and that's why it's not that good. Then somebody else kind of hops on his style a little bit, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Another thing I will see eventually.
All right, and then also that's coming out soon is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Does that title of every single one of those films get longer every film?
What was the last one? On Stranger Tides.
On Stranger Tides.
At World's End. Well, The Curse of the Black Pearl. That was the first one, so that's probably the longest
one. So maybe
one.
it's going to be good, because every one that has the really long title is a good film.
Yeah, maybe so.
All right, we'll see about Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm looking forward to the Pirates of the Caribbean.
It looks interesting. I mean, it looks like there's going to be Johnny Depp, of course, is back. There's not any of the main characters. Barbossa seems to be a minor character.
Javier Bardem as the villain. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in any time. Like, he was fantastic in which James Bond was that? Was that
Skyfall.
Excuse me, it was Skyfall. And then you have a young kid in the film who I think is actually playing Will Turner's son.
Right.
And a new female, and they had this whole joke in the trailer about her being a whore, but it was actually about like.
Oh yeah, that was that newest trailer.
Yeah. And the number one reason I'm gonna see this film, Zombie Shark. I'm down.
Okay, exactly.
Zombie Sharks, you got me. I am paying for that movie. Zombie Sharks. What's also happening is Preacher is going to get a season 2. I've only seen the first episodes of season 1. I've enjoyed what I've seen so far.
As have I. I read that comic. I loved the comic. That's Garth Ennis right there, man.
Ennis. We can't sing enough praises about Garth Ennis. We're going to get a Krypton series ordered from Sci-Fi, which I believe the Krypton series is going to be the best part about Man of Steel, which was Krypton in the beginning of the film.
Oh, is it going to be based on that version of it?
Yeah, the very beginning where it has like the dragons and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm in.
But it's also going to be, I think, Kal-El's grandfather.
Oh, okay. So we're going way back.
It's a prequel. It's a super prequel, so they can't really interfere with what's going on currently.
That's probably a wise idea.
Definitely smart. Stay away from the Justice League film, I say.
Yeah.
Just want to mention the quick teaser that was the Blade Runner.
Oh yes.
I know it's one of my favorite films, if not my favorite film.
Blade Runner is the seminal science fiction film directed by Ridley Scott, who created the Alien franchise. Yeah. Kind of. Anyway, I'll get into that later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. I can't wait for that. The Blade Runner trailer. I mean, Harrison Ford's back, looking old, which is great. I mean, I'm worried about his character in this film because I'm wondering if it's going to start this trend where Harrison Ford pops up in his old franchise and then dies.
That's man. That's totally my. If I have a criticism of a trailer, which is ridiculous, I don't think we need Rick Deckard in this movie. Let's just have a new Blade Runner, set it in this world. I'm in, man. I don't need Rick. I like Rick Deckard's story ending with him going off and escaping the city and living their replicant lives. So now, is he a replicant? I mean,
this is a whole debate we could have. In one cut, the film, depending on which version you watch, you have it where it's set up he's definitely human. Another version, I think it's the director's cut.
Right.
They set up a little bit that he's a replicant.
Well, they have him dream about the unicorn, and then Gaff leaves the little unicorn.
Right.
And he gets that glow in his eye that all the replicants get. Only the replicants get that weird sort of glow in their eyes. So I think for all intents and purposes, we got to go with the director's cut. That was the original vision of the movie. So Rick Deckard is a replicant, but now he's a really old replicant. I think what's going to end up happening is that we're going to get our answers in this film, which is something I really appreciate. That's why one of the reasons why a sequel is necessary. I take it back. Harrison Ford is great. I really feel like if we get get answers, but you know what? I kind of like the ambiguity now. See, I don't need a definite answer at this. Maybe he was and maybe he wasn't. That would be great. Maybe that version in that film was a replicant, but this is the real Deckard. Oh, God almighty. That would be amazing. Retcon. Multiples. I bet, in the trailer you see Jared Leto, who thankfully is in a good film and not doing a horrible Joker impersonation. I liked the Joker. I liked his Joker. Yeah, I didn't.
But
I didn't like all the tattoos. I didn't like, sort of insane clown posse version of Joker. But I liked his performance as the Joker.
The extended cut definitely.
I think I might be the only one, but I did like it.
You may be the only one that likes Jared Leto's Joker. The extended cut does help it. Does explain his character a little bit more. I think there were some cool scenes in that film for the Joker. But Ryan Gosling in the trailer with Jared Leto, I mean, everything looks great. Ryan Gosling, despite his high collar, did you see that picture?
Yes.
And you see internet going crazy over it, where they're like raising it higher and higher and higher.
Oh no!
Oh my god, it's amazing! You gotta check that out when you get a chance. Wow.
I'm glad to see that Atari is still alive and kicking in 2049.
That was great.
Oh god, that made me so happy.
Oh my goodness, love it. The whole movie looks great. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to watch another trailer. I just want to go in from
Go see the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
When does it come out?
I believe in November, maybe?
Jeez, that's so long.
Yeah, it is so long. I'll probably end up watching all the trailers. But hopefully I have a little bit more self-control, but that's going to be hard.
Never going to happen, man. We're going to be inundated by the time we get to November.
I really enjoy that franchise. All right, and our last story before we get into our main topic is the Hellboy reboot, which I believe we're both really excited for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like down on it because they're married to that Guillermo del Toro adaptation, but more the merrier, man.
I mean, there's some problems in those films, but I will say, number 2, the Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
Yes.
One of the best comic book films I think there was out there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot.
It was a fantastic film, and the unfortunate nature of the business is that film came out the same summer or year that The Dark Knight came out, and Dark Knight just took everything over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make the money that it probably normally would. So that's why we're not going to get a number 3. You have Ron Perlman in it as Hellboy, which he is fantastic as Hellboy.
He was great, man.
And the reboot, though, we're getting David Harbour from Stranger Things, who is great too. It's like another Ron Perlman. I mean,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that performance. I hope they go in a totally different direction, as they should, because it's a whole new team. But I'm looking forward to it. I'll go see it.
It's going to be R-rated, which I buy into.
Right on.
After Deadpool and all these other films, they're going to be Logan, which was R-rated as well.
Yep.
Like, you have all these films that are coming out that are a little bit more towards the adult audience that loves comic books. I think Hellboy is right there. It'll be perfect.
Yeah,
the comic book is mature.
Totally, man. They're supposedly making it darker and like more twisted, and I think that's a great way to go.
So I have 2 comments about what this Hellboy reboot needs to do.
Mm.
1, no love story.
Oh, you don't like the...
No love story, please.
Okay, I like that.
In the comic book, though, they were just friends. And
Liz.
Let's keep Liz as a friend.
Are they even going to add Liz? I bet they won't even have her as a character.
Oh, they for sure will.
Yeah?
They for sure will. Get any kind of hot actress, put her with flaming powers, come on.
Whoever they
that
get
sells the movie.
will not be as good as Selma Blair. I love Selma Blair.
She was fantastic. But again, these movies are great. And my second thing is bring Roger the
Homunculus.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him. He's great. Mm-hmm. I love that character. I'm not even going to get into it because you guys need to read it. He's a fantastic character. And the BPRD expanded universe sounds fantastic.
Totally.
Don't exactly bite on that Marvel DC apple with making this huge cinematic universe. But 1-2 films, that's it. That's all you need. You have Roger's film, and then you have Hellboy's film. Or do a prequel series, or something.
Yeah.
Make a Netflix show. Do something.
Hey, I've got an idea. Don't do an origin story.
Yeah, no origin story. Just have it straight up. He's Hellboy.
That's it. Man. I don't want to see another goddamn origin story.
Unfortunately, the Hellboy property has been such a long time since the origin. I think we're going to end up getting a little bit of an origin.
How about one flashback? How about somebody just say, hey, weren't you blah, blah, blah?
I think if we get, like, the first 15 minutes of the film being an origin, I'd be okay, and then you kind of go with the rest of the story there. Kind of like in the movie from Gilmore, that you have, like, this 15-minute origin story of him as a child, right?
Right.
And the old man gets him because of a demon summoning, blah blah blah.
Yeah, let's not have a human character who knows nothing about it being our proxy. Like, enough, man. We're I don't.
They got rid of him in the second film, which was much needed.
Absolutely, but like they didn't need him in the first one. Like, I don't know what this sort of screenwriting 101 nonsense is, where it's like, well, we need somebody as a stand-in for the audience to guide us in there. Like, no, you don't. We're there to see the movie. We're already sold.
I would like them to actually bring back the actor who played Abe Sapien. I really enjoyed him.
Oh, Doug Jones.
Yes.
Yeah,
bring him back.
They're not going to do that.
I know. It sucks.
Are they even going to have Abe Sapien?
They should.
Should they?
They should.
Yeah, maybe they should.
I mean, you got the red and blue, you know.
Man, I'm sold. I love that character.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more news on that.
You know what they need to do is bring back David Hyde Pierce to do the voice.
Oh my God. So from Hellboy, we're going to bring into our main topic here, which was Alien Resurrection.
Alien Resurrection. Alien 4 in the series. Okay. Brief history. I'll try and be brief with the history of the Alien movies. Alien, the original film, was written by Dan O'Bannon, who is a fantastic filmmaker, died just recently, who had collaborated in the early 70s with his USC film school compatriot John Carpenter. They made a movie called Dark Star. There's a sequence in the movie where an alien is on board their ship and it's chasing him around and he's chasing it around. Dan O'Bannon is actually in the movie as a character. So years later, he took that notion of that scene and spun it into a screenplay called Star Beast, which he was going to direct by himself at Roger Corman Studios, but the script got such good buzz that it got purchased by 20th Century Fox. Dan O'Bannon is, by the way, the guy who brought in H.R. Giger to do the design for the aliens. So when I said earlier about Ridley Scott being kind of the father of these movies,
right.
These movies would not have happened without Dan O'Bannon. He got everything in motion.
Let me just stop you right there. Is Roger Corman tied to everything?
Yes.
Oh my! He's like the Nicolas Cage of sci-fi films.
Mm-hmm. He's like the Nicolas Cage of all movies.
He's the Nicolas Cage of directors. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and definitely producers. So many people got their start with Roger Corman. I don't want to go off on a Roger Corman.
No. We could have a Roger Corman retrospective at some point.
We should, because he's worth it.
Oh, fantastic.
So Alien, first movie, takes place in 2179. It's about a group of miners who are on a ship called the Nostromo, and they're returning to Earth after picking up a load of ore somewhere in the cosmos, and their ship has to stop because they receive a homing beacon from somewhere. They don't know where. They stop at this planetoid, LV-426, where they find a derelict alien ship. The lower half of the ship is covered in these eggs. One of the eggs hatches, the creature comes out, they call them facehuggers, attaches it to Kane, John Hurt's character. Mm-hmm. There's a Hellboy reference
there.
There you go. And the alien gestates within him, bursts out of him, and then the rest of the movie, these characters trying to survive on this ship with this alien.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just like to bring up the fact he's doing all this information of history of Alien without notes. This is quite impressive.
Oh no, it's not that impressive.
It's quite impressive.
It's a wasted life. That's what it is.
It's kind of impressive.
Okay.
All right, on to
okay, so Alien, it comes out, and it's I can't really stress what a seismic shift it was in science fiction at the time. I mean, the year before, Star Wars had come out, and that kind of blew everyone's minds as far as escapist entertainment. But for those of us who were serious about science fiction, this movie was unbelievable in its real-world take on things. Everything looked worn and used, and it took the science pretty seriously. Plus, it gave us a scary character. The
right.
design of the alien, I think, is one of the greatest designs of the 20th century.
It has to easily be the best creature created. I mean, just with all how the head's shaped, how everything, it's very sleek.
The sort of biomechanoid look of it. It's just
the xenomorph is a fantastic creature. The person who created
H.R. Giger.
Fantastic. Should be. He's a legend.
Absolutely, and rightfully so, because that design is just it is literally a nightmare come to life.
To get into a small tangent here, do you know how I was introduced to the Alien franchise?
No, but I'm dying to know.
Oh my goodness! So there's this cartoon that was on Nickelodeon back in the day.
Okay.
Called Doug. I
remember Doug.
I believe this was.
I
might be mistaken.
Way before my time, but
might be confusing it with another cartoon show.
Okay.
But there's a movie that's playing with Doug, and he's watching this film, and he's like this weird kind of dorky guy, but he's really afraid of this film. This film is a takeoff of Alien.
Right on.
And I was so interested of okay, what's this movie supposed to be about that he's watching? And years later, after I saw this cartoon, I remember this cartoon, and I started watching this movie on television, Alien, and I was like, oh my god, this is just like that Doug cartoon.
That's hilarious.
What the hell? They copied the Doug cartoon. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. This must be the movie it's based on. Fantastic.
That is fantastic.
That's my introduction to Alien. I then, after seeing the middle to the end, rented the film from a Blockbuster and actually watched the whole thing. And I have to say, to this day, it's probably one of my favorite sci-fi films and probably my favorite horror movie.
Yeah, it's right up there. It's hard to deny how great the first Alien movie is. There is one problem for me with the movie, and that's a couple years ago there was an Ebola scare. You remember that?
Yes.
and people were like freaking out and saying like, close the borders and don't let anyone in this country. We don't want to get Ebola. The alien facehugger attaches itself to Kane, falls off, and then they take him to breakfast. They don't quarantine him at all. They don't give him a body scan.
That's right.
I'm like, I love the movie, but that's the part of the movie where I'm just like, what are you doing? Keep him locked up, man. You don't know what's going on.
This is just on par for the rest of the franchise, though, because a lot of these things, like a lot of those little, like, tiny, like, weird, I could solve the whole movie right here moments happens throughout the whole franchise.
I think the rest of the movies have incredibly stupid characters, except for the second film in the series, which is Aliens. And now, in Aliens, the first film ends and Ripley goes into hypersleep and heads home to Earth.
Yeah.
But she doesn't get there because she's stranded in space for 60-some-odd years.
But of course she doesn't.
Yeah.
You need a sequel.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like it was 7 years later, and it was thanks to James Cameron, who was like, I want to do an Alien movie.
Right.
That it got made, and just like Alien is the perfect sort of science fiction horror movie, I think Aliens is the perfect science fiction action movie.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. Aliens 2 is a top action movie in its genre. You have Sigourney Weaver.
She's great. The whole cast is great. I mean,
fantastic.
We're not telling you anything you don't know. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. And people say like, oh, like Alien's better than Alien. Like they're two separate movies that happen to share the same space.
You could say like I prefer this movie in the franchise, and probably people who come from an action background who prefer the action movies will definitely go Aliens over Alien. But me, because of my introduction to Alien, I definitely hold Alien above all the other films, especially number 4.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I fall into a weird camp where I like both sort of equally. I mean, I'll probably put on Aliens just to watch because it's a more entertaining movie. Anyway.
Oh, I'd certainly agree with that. Aliens is more entertaining. It's more of the fun film. Alien is, in my opinion, the better film. Mm-hmm. It's not something I'm watching all the time. Aliens, I would put on just in the background and catch some of my favorite scenes.
Totally.
Especially the ending is great.
Yeah, so, she goes back to LV-426, which has now been colonized, and they've found the aliens, and the aliens are taken over, and she goes with a crew of colonial marines, and it's a big action thing. The movie ends with her, like, introduced to the alien queen, which is what's laying all these eggs in the first place. And they do battle, blah, blah, blah. Movie ends. She goes back into hypersleep. She's found this...
Did she win?
She did win.
Oh, good.
Because she was in hypersleep for 60 years, her daughter grew old and died of old age, which is a great idea for a movie. But when she gets back to LV-426, she finds a colonist little girl named Newt, Rebecca, who sort of becomes her surrogate daughter. So at the end of the movie, they go into hypersleep, and now they're going to head home, and everything's going to be fine. And then Alien 3 happens.
Right.
God, man. I know you don't like Alien Resurrection, but Alien 3 is so bad. David Fincher's first feature film, which is shocking.
Yeah. He goes on to do many great things.
Fight Club alone,
Fight Club alone.
Zodiac is a great film. I like The Game even. Anyway,
don't get him started.
Alien 3 begins with a fire on the ship, and all of their life pods get jettisoned. Uh-huh. They kill off Hicks. They kill off Newt. They leave her alive, and she lands on this prison planet full of like religious zealots. And it turns out that somehow the Queen or they don't really explain this, but she's somehow been impregnated with an alien. It's like growing in her the entire time.
Fun.
Oh yeah, a blast with this character.
So just to backtrack a little bit, I really enjoyed the character Newt in the second film, and I don't remember watching much of number 3.
Okay.
I'm sure I've seen it. It's just something I made a block from memory because it was so bad. I don't know. But Newt was a great character. They just kind of write her off in the beginning of the film.
Yeah, she's just dead.
Right.
She's dead. Hicks is dead. Bishop the android is like scrap parts now.
Well, they got to introduce a new android because every Alien movie introduces an android.
Well, there's no android in Alien 3. They talk to Bishop for just maybe they like hook him back up and they talk to him to get some information. Like she hooks him back up to figure out what went wrong on the Sulaco on the way back. Mm-hmm. And he tells her like there was an alien and it messed with the tubes and we started a fire.
Well, with the Alien franchise, except for number 3, there's like an android in every film. Correct?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, to get a little.
Yeah, and interestingly, so in the first film, his name is Ash.
Yeah. I was about to get into it.
In the second film, it's Bishop.
Yeah.
In Alien Resurrection, it's Call. In Prometheus, it's David, so it's ABCD.
I believe in the new film, Alien Covenant, it's going to be an E name. I think it was Ethan or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I could be mistaken.
That's good.
But I know David does come back. That's the only thing I've heard, which Michael Fassbender, more please.
Yeah.
Hands down.
So,
Alien 3.
Alien 3. She dies. That's the end of the movie.
Right.
I think Sigourney Weaver didn't even want to come back for Alien 3, and they gave her a boatload of money. And
convinced by the script.
I don't know. You know, that's one of those movies where there were dozens of scripts written for it. There were scripts without Ripley as a character. There were scripts that focused on Hicks. There were scripts that focused on Newt. The people at Fox were under the impression that you can't make an Alien movie without Sigourney Weaver. And they might be right. So they had to have her back, but she only wanted to be in it if she could die at the end and sort of put an end to the series, which is what happens. As the alien sort of is bursting out of her chest, which is a queen, she ends up swan diving into a lake of lava, molten metal, kills herself, and like, okay, well, that's the end of the series, right? It's not the end of the series.
Of course not.
So that brings us to the movie we're talking about today, which is Alien Resurrection. Came out in 1997, written by Joss Whedon. Perk up your ears, nerds.
Of Avengers, of Buffy, of Angel fame, like, go on and on.
Dr. Horrible sing-along blog.
I mean, we could sing praises about Joss Whedon's work. Maybe not his mentality on things.
We could, but I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get...
Whoa. What?
I like Avengers.
You did not like Buffy or Angel?
No.
What?
No, you know what?
All right, it's my generation. Okay, like for real,
Yes.
It's my generation. This is a generational gap,
Yes.
probably. But I'm
for
just
those of
saying,
you who don't
you
know,
are crazy.
I'm significantly older than Holden.
You are crazy. Joss Whedon is great on those shows.
I did not like... Look, I liked that movie. Here's the thing. I liked the movie Buffy. I liked that movie. I enjoyed it. I couldn't get into the series. It was a little too meta, a little too knowing, a little too precious. Like, I liked those guys. I don't know who those guys were. The ones that didn't really speak and they like floated around. You know what I'm talking about?
Man, it's been a while since I've
The
seen
Gentlemen, I think their names were.
Yes, I think so.
You watched the series and I didn't. How do I know The Gentlemen, sucker?
It's been a while. I was more of an Angel fan than Buffy.
The Gentlemen were scary. I got to give that up. Okay. So
I will say, hold on, really, one little thing. The Buffy and Angel series definitely went on a little too long. But I appreciate it. It was, it was my childhood. I mean, I appreciate it. And then, of course, how can you sit there and say, oh, I don't know about Joss Whedon, when he did Avengers, though? Like, that movie...
I said I liked Avengers.
I know you like Avengers, but, like, that's kind of like almost like a Fight Club credit there of films.
Hey, man, look, here's the thing. I like that guy, Joss Whedon. Like, every time I see him interviewed, anything I read about him, he seems like a really cool dude. I loved Avengers. I like his take on superhero characters. What he has sort of produced has not wowed me, other than Avengers, honestly.
All right, I actually, you know what? Let me backtrack and actually say Avengers was great. Age of Ultron wasn't so great. He pushed for a lot of things that I didn't like in the film, from what I understand, with the romance of Hulk and Black Widow. So you know what? We don't count Avengers as a Fight Club credit because of what he decided for Age of Ultron. But I will say,
no, you're wrong. If we were talking about Age of Ultron and that was his only thing, then I would agree. But Avengers is a great movie, legitimately.
Right.
I was worried going into that movie that they weren't going to be able to juggle the characters, and that they were introducing sort of magic, and with Thor, which anyway, I was worried. I love that movie. It's a perfect superhero movie.
To bring it back into Alien, though, and this might be some of the problems that we'll have later on in the film, it seems like Joss Whedon can only handle a Joss Whedon script, and that's something I think we can agree with Alien Resurrection. Things were fumbled around, and that's some problems with the movie. We'll get into it later, but just as a point of stop the Joss Whedon talk, we can agree. Joss Whedon handles Joss Whedon very well. Other people don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say that. Sure, why not?
All right, so Alien Resurrection. Where do you want to begin with this movie?
I guess we'll just get into the plot.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, all right, before we get into the plot,
Yeah.
I have an issue with the first 10 minutes of this film.
Okay.
We saw the director's cut of this film.
We did.
Right? The director is...
Jean-Pierre Jeunet, the director of Amélie and The City of Lost Children and Delicatessen, some of the best movies ever made.
First 10 minutes of this film, you have intro into the film as you focus in on a tiny bug that gets squished. This bug then gets squished and gets sucked up into a straw and shut up at a windshield.
Yes.
I call it the windshield bug guy moment.
Yes.
And this guy is not in the film the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that was a weird choice.
Very odd. All right, so you go from there to cloning the xenomorph to breed aliens. So they're using it to what? I never got the motivation between the cloning. Is it a military contract thing? I never got that part.
Yes.
So this is again the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
Ripley.
It's all those things.
Clone number 8. She is brought back because she has the embryo of a queen or an alien. I don't know if it's a queen yet. It doesn't explain it, I think.
This is, let me just say, this is 200 years later. This is 200 years after Alien 3.
Pardon me. It was 200 years later after Alien 3.
Yes.
Okay. She's been cloned. When they pull the xenomorph out of her chest, they then say, "Oh, let's sew her back up."
Yes.
She's alive. Cool.
Yeah.
And then she acts possessed in a room covered in a cheesecloth.
Yes. So it's a birth scene.
And then they have breath-based security to lock her in.
Yes.
And then there's the fork and fuck scene.
Yeah. We're going to get into all this.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Well.
And let me preface this by saying there's a lot of cursing in this film. There's a lot of quotes in this film that have fuck in it. I apologize if you don't like that word. It's going to happen a lot.
A lot. Just to fill in the gaps here that Holden has brought up.
This is the first 10 minutes. There's no gaps to be filled.
Okay, that's true. All right. Basic plot of the movie is 200 years later, a military medical facility in orbit around Pluto has cloned Ripley from blood samples taken from the prison planet of Alien 3. They know she's got this alien in her, and they're going to grow it, and again, they don't really give us the reasons. I mean, they kind of do. It might be military, but they think that the aliens themselves are so amazing that the practical applications are limitless. That's sort of what they tell us.
Let me interject for 1 second here. They're cloning a clone inside of a clone?
Yes.
It's the inception of clones.
Yes.
Fantastic. Go on.
Okay. So they've cloned Ripley. They could pull the queen out of her. They leave her. They let her live. She is number 8. So obviously they've been trying this for a while and had a lot of failure. But now Ripley's alive again. But because she's a clone, she has alien DNA in her, which is part of the possession thing.
Right.
Why Ripley's character isn't quite Ellen Ripley from the earlier movies. She's a new thing. Into this come the rest of the cast, which are these mercenaries aboard a ship called the Betty, and they are delivering a stolen cargo of cryotubes of other potential colonists and workers that are going to be used as hosts for the new aliens.
Interesting. And among that mercenary group, we have the best part of this film, in my opinion, Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman.
Plays Johnner, I believe his name is. Introduces himself by acting like a gorilla.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You have Winona Ryder also here.
Annalee Call.
Annalee Call. And then you have Gary Dourdan.
Yes, Gary Dourdan, who went on to be on CSI, playing Christy, who's sort of the second in command of the ship. The ship is captained by a character named Elgin, played by Michael Wincott. Michael Wincott was huge in the 90s. He was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and he was the villain in The Crow, and he was in a lot of Oliver Stone's movies.
In that?
Yeah, dude, he's the main villain. Where's he been? He's awesome. You know what? He was just in Ghost in the Shell. He was in the opening of Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, he was like a doctor.
Yeah, he's the they try and attack him at the beginning.
Interesting.
I love Michael Wincott. I was so excited even in '97 when I saw him on board in an Alien movie. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And of course, he's like one of the first to go.
Yeah, easily. I mean, I think the two big names in this film other than Weaver and Ron Perlman here, and I don't know where Winona Ryder's star was exactly. This
huge.
She's
got top billing. It's Sigourney Weaver, Winona Ryder on the poster.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have I can't remember his name right now, but he's the director on the ship.
Yes.
He is I've seen him everywhere.
Dan Hedaya.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, I would never remember that.
Yeah, he was pretty famously way back in the day. He was Carla Tortelli's husband, Nick Tortelli on Cheers, and he was Alicia Silverstone's father in Clueless. He's a character actor. My wife Jessica hates him, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, just can't stand him.
Any particular reason why?
I have no idea why, because I love him.
Is it the shoulder hair? I think it has to be the shoulder hair.
His shoulder hair in this movie is the most frightening part of the movie.
Super legendary, though. Come on.
Good Lord, it's terrifying.
It's the most terrifying thing in the movie, I will agree. No. There's something more terrifying. We'll get into it later, but that hair is ridiculous.
Oh my God, it's,
popping up out.
I would cut that scene.
Yeah, they literally have a scene of him in a tank top waking up in bed, and all you see is shoulder hair popping up. It's like Cousin It just popping up. And
you can focus on nothing else. There's stuff going on in that scene, and you're just like, well, look at that.
Oh my goodness.
The rest of the movie is, it's every alien movie. The aliens get out, the heroes have to get off the ship, they gotta get back to their ship, they're being thwarted by aliens and humans alike, and that's the rest of the movie.
Yeah, we'll get into it as we get into the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I really enjoyed about the beginning of this film was basically the fork and flex scene, if you want to get into that.
Go for it. Ripley, as a character, is being sort of reintegrated, not into society, but they're trying to get her back up to speed where she's talking and whatever. So there's a scene where she's sitting with one of the main scientists, one of the main cloning scientists, a character named Gettman, played by Brad Dourif, voice of Chucky, among other roles. And she's examining a fork. Gettman is sitting next to her, and he holds up his and says, "Fork," like, "This is a fork." And then she says, "Fuck," like, or "Ah, what a good joke."
Yeah, cheeky line. Do you think that was something that was in the script?
I know that was in the script. I specifically...
Joss,
I know, I went back and read this script just because Joss Whedon sort of has disowned this film and referred to it as like the worst in the series and all this kind of thing. And so I was curious to see what was on the page and what was on the screen. Everything on the page is on the screen.
That's a shame.
You know, his attitude is that they made every decision wrong while making it. They cast it incorrectly, they designed it incorrectly, they shot it incorrectly, and that's the risk you run as a writer with somebody else doing your work. So
that goes on to what I was saying earlier, where Joss Whedon seems to only like to direct his things his way, and when somebody else does it, he doesn't feel like the message gets put across.
And I'd be curious to see his version of the film, because honestly, I know you don't like this movie. I actually like this movie.
Oh, man. Like, I had major problems with this movie. There's so much I want to talk about that's bad. Fortunately, that's not where we're getting into right away. We're going to get into the good first, to start off positive here.
Indeed we are.
Number one for me, Sigourney Weaver was definitely a good thing in this film.
Great.
Yeah, the main character, of course, is good. Like, I mean, it's the main character. You have to have a good main character, or the film's not really watchable at all.
I agree.
Honestly, though, like, Sigourney Weaver played it like it was a B movie, and I kind of appreciate it. She played it like it was, I'm doing something ridiculous, and I got that from her. The rest of the cast, maybe not so much. Well, with her, she was like in her own film, doing her own thing, and it was great.
Yeah, I thought her performance was very unusual in this movie, and in keeping with the character, because this isn't Ellen Ripley from the earlier movies. This is some weird hybrid Ellen Ripley and alien. She does lots of interesting stuff. I don't know if you noticed, like, she kind of holds her hands in this weird alien way. She keeps them really close and sort of up a little bit. Like the way she interacts with everybody, it's always like she doesn't understand what's going on, and she kind of views everyone from a bit of a distance, which I think is great. Like, I really like that.
I appreciate the fact that because she is so different, she doesn't really have that human side to her. So she's very, like, short and, like, just has an objective and wants to complete the objective. I appreciate the fact that they did cross her with the xenomorph, so they have her with acid blood, which is places in the film all over the place. Like
a milder version of the alien blood.
It's like an instant get-out-of-free jail card with her acid blood. Every time there's a problem, like, oh, I have acid blood. Whap!
Can we talk about alien blood for a minute?
Alien blood, yes. Please go ahead.
Okay.
You know better than I do.
In the first Alien movie, they try and cut the facehugger off of Kane. And they make a tiny incision, and the little droplets of blood that come out of the thing eat through 4 decks of the ship.
Really?
Like, they keep going down and down, and they can't believe it, and it keeps coming. So it's this really potent form of hydrochloric acid. That has diminished as the films go on.
Right.
It gets less and less until it's basically, in this film, it's just like an irritant. It's one of the characters, one of the mercenaries on the crew, Freeze, played by Dominique Pignon, who's in all of Jean-Pierre Genet's movies, is in a wheelchair. And so he can't feel anything sort of from the waist down. Like, they introduce him with a knife getting dropped by Ron Perlman's character into his leg, and he doesn't feel it. So the alien blood drips at one point onto his leg, and it's like nothing. And then it drips onto his ear, and it's like nothing.
It's minor. Well, it's something maybe in the Alien Resurrection film that they could have explained with, because they're not, direct xenomorphs, direct aliens, that they're now kind of sort of human, so it's not as
it's not as potent as it was. But then they make a point to, with the aliens escape in this movie, there are 3 aliens in a pen, and 2 of them kill the third, and then his blood eats through the hull of the ship, and they're able to escape.
I love this scene, by the way. I love the fact that it actually made these aliens seem very intelligent. In these creature slasher films, they don't really have the creatures be that intelligent. I mean, unless you're talking like Deep Blue Sea, where it's like smart sharks.
I
mean, Not going to be on the show. It's really bad.
Yeah, we can't fix that movie.
No. But with the smart aliens, I thought that was a really cool scene.
I
It
agree.
showed some intelligence to the... It was a great setup. I thought that was what it was going to be the rest of the film. I was disappointed. I didn't feel like the aliens were very smart after that point.
Yeah.
I mean...
But who was in this movie?
Very true, but it's an alien sci-fi action horror movie.
Right.
Like, you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
people are stupid. People do dumb things. Like one of my number one problems with this film is not this film, but the idea of this happening is there are these scientists that are studying the aliens and cloning them, and they don't have an acid-proof holding cell.
Yeah, it seems kind of crazy.
I mean, of all things, that's one of the first things.
That's the first thing you should build.
They got blood that will melt stuff. Let me put something that won't melt it. Like,
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Yeah. It's a failing for sure.
It's something that would have just been explained with a line of, oh, this is their temporary holding cell. We don't put them into the real holding cells until they're fully
Grown
or whatever.
Sure.
Where the acid blood's the most potent, and only a lot of acid blood will actually affect the floors that are currently open.
Right.
What the hell?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you for that.
All right.
I do like the scene though.
It's a great scene.
I like that the aliens are like. Since we're talking about things we liked about the movie, I like that. I liked the sort of hybrid characters. I like that the aliens aren't necessarily the aliens that we've seen before. They're a bit more fleshy this time. In the first two and a little bit into the third, like they're almost mechanical. They seem very rigid, and this they seem really fleshy. Like aliens famously have a mouth inside their mouth that sort of comes out, and it's always been very rigid and hard, and this time it looked like kind of more of a tongue. I don't know, there was something very creepy about the aliens.
They definitely didn't waste a single drop of the KY jelly they used.
There's
a lot of slime in this film.
There's so much. We've always had them like a bit wet, but good lord, it's like they're constantly swimming in this movie.
So much goo, slime, everything.
And in this movie they have like steam coming out of them.
Right.
A lot of
well, it's because all the
vapor
slime on them it evaporates. Like something happens to them. I mean, you're in the vacuum of space. You think everything's cold, but no, you're steaming because it's so hot. Maybe they're close to the sun. Oh wait, they're by Pluto, the farthest point away from the sun.
Yes.
All right, let's get back on the good stuff here.
Good stuff. Go.
Ron Perlman. I think he came to play in this film. I think he's one of the few actors in this movie that, other than Sigourney Weaver, that really just showed up. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is me chewing scenery. Bam, here I am. And we introduced to him by him making monkey noises, which is fantastic. He throws a knife at a crippled guy, which is like, wow, this guy's an asshole. But we enjoy this asshole because he's Ron Perlman.
There you go. His character is the asshole, and therefore he gets to survive.
He honestly made me be glued to the screen every time he was on it. I'm so glad he was throughout the whole movie. He wasn't just a casualty right in the beginning. Or I was afraid. I was afraid for him because I enjoyed his character. So maybe that's a positive for me. I had a character I could connect to. Like, I don't know if that's great that I'm connecting to such an asshole, but like I enjoy Ron Perlman. I enjoy watching him, and I'm glad he was there the whole time. I
couldn't agree more. He's great in the movie. Another good thing.
Man, for me, it was just a ridiculous story. I think that was a good thing for me. It's something maybe I'd put in another film where it would be a bad thing, that it has a ridiculous story, but because this movie is almost a B movie, but not a B movie. It's produced like an A movie, the big-time, high-production movie. It has a B movie feel to it, and I think they really hit on that dark comedy B movie vibe.
I agree.
With some of the deaths that they have, some of the things that go along with it. And because it's such a ridiculous story of we're going to clone a clone inside of a clone, and then that clone's going to have a womb, and then that, and it goes and just ups the level. It's like, this is ridiculous. I'm entertained. Cool.
One of the things I really like about this movie is that it went in a direction to disturb. There's a scene where Ripley, number 8, encounters all of the previous Ripley clones. It's gross. I thought it was wonderful.
To me, it's the only scene that really impacts emotion in, and which this film doesn't really have too much emotion in it because it's a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a run and gun horror movie.
Yeah, it doesn't have too much emotion. This scene actually kind of brought in some humanity to it. Like, oh man, there's all these clones of me.
Yeah, and one of them is still alive too, and it's just
creep, like some stuff you would see like out of like The Fly or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's really bizarre.
Really grotesque and bizarre. If we're talking about grotesque and bizarre, I would like to mention the fact that the human-alien hybrid that pops up at the end of the film.
The newborn.
What the hell was that?
I don't know.
That was so creepy.
Yeah.
And you brought up how weird and this, how ridiculous, that I brought up is how ridiculous this is. This is truly a ridiculous creature.
Yes.
I don't understand it.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it was something that they planned and they just kind of like, oh, here it is. It looks cool.
Yeah.
The eyes, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, and the mouth and the wiggling nose?
Yes.
What was up with the wiggling nose? Did it have, like, actual, like, robotics just for the nose to wiggle? What happened there?
I think maybe they didn't put any sort of bit of rigidity in that nose so that anytime it would move, it would just sort of give this weird shimmy. I thought that creature was pretty disturbing. I actually think it should have been more disturbing. I think they made it too big and
it was huge.
And they didn't make it mobile enough.
Well, I was actually reading earlier when I was researching this film that they were talking about how Joss Whedon originally intended this creature to be as big as the Queen.
Yes.
Which would have been...
It kind of is. I mean, it's when they go face to face, they're pretty similar in size.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
This one's just a little more bipedal. It's a little closer to a human than an alien. It's the body shape is more human.
It's hunched over. It has like a weird beer gut. Like, there's so much going on of this weird hybrid alien that it really takes away in the third act for me, like, the impact of this film. I thought if this creature wasn't seen as much, maybe I'd enjoy it more, and that kind of gets onto what we'll talk about later. But, man, this thing is so creepy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the way the movie is handled, or the way this creature is handled, I really like it, and I also hate it. It's like, it's a good part of the movie, and it's a terrible part of the movie.
And when it finally meets its end, and what a way to go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. It gets sucked through a tiny hole into space.
Yes.
And every bit of it goes through the tiny hole.
Yeah.
Like,
it effectively liquefies as it decompresses.
No way that I ever want to watch this ending again. I would watch everything but this ending again.
Yeah.
Basically, once the newborn's born, newborn is born. Basically, once this hybrid is born, I'm out. I'm out.
I think most people were out at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I could see certainly a lot of people walking out of the film at that point in time because how disgusting that creature was.
Yes.
And it didn't even have the setup of, like I've mentioned before, The Fly, where you see this character digress and become this grotesque, horrible creature, and you have connection.
Yes.
And I think that's why they gave it the eyes that it has, so you can kind of develop a humane connection of it has sad eyes. It has eyes that are, like, intense onto something. It tries to draw you in, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's better in theory than execution.
Right.
I think the character is a good idea. I think each of the movies tried to bring something new to the table. This was Joss Whedon's attempt to bring something new to the table. Literally a new version of the alien.
You know, something that would actually tie into how ridiculous this film is? Weyland-Yutani apparently was bought out by Walmart?
Yeah, that's if we're going to get into the bad, like that's something endemic of I don't know if they're still doing it today, but it certainly seemed in the 90s where anytime you were doing like a science fiction-y thing, callbacks to things that were at that moment happening. The characters in the movie at one point are watching the Home Shopping Network, which was huge in like 96. Like it was a sort of a new thing, and like, haha, they're watching the Home Shopping Network. Okay, we get it. We get the joke. The company's bought up by Walmart. Walmart was on the rise in the 90s. Very funny, I guess. Demolition Man. There were the restaurant wars and like Del Taco or Taco Bell 1. And
is that something that like originated in Blade Runner, or did that happen before that? Because it seems like I don't remember much of it before. And then whenever they do these feature movies since Blade Runner with this neo-noir stuff, they tie in weird fast food chains, or as you said earlier about the Blade Runner, Atari, and they just make it bigger and huger, and it's a giant corporation that has Atari.
Right.
Like I feel like Blade Runner was the first film to do it. So
I think Blade Runner was the first film to sort of take something that was real world and incorporate it, because Atari at that time was a huge company, and so they wanted to spin off that it was still around. And of course, the big joke was within 5 years, Atari was gone.
Right, and then you can have the Ridley Scott influences from that point, I guess, onto this film, is that they brought in that kind of stuff. I don't know if in Alien there wasn't anything really there though.
No, nothing at all. It wasn't even Weyland-Yutani. They just called them the Company at that point.
Really, and then Weyland-Yutani came out in this Aliens.
Aliens, I think.
Right.
And I don't even know if they've mentioned Weyland-Yutani in that either. I think it wasn't until Alien 3, maybe.
Yeah, and so at this point, we can go into the bad things, I would say.
Yes, right after a word from our sponsor.
The following message is brought to you by the Alien Queen. This message was paid for by the Council for enslaving all mankind as parasitic hosts for clearly superior species.
And we're back. Let's get into the bad.
The bad. There's a lot of bad for me.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I've made this clear enough, but the bad things in this film, man, they just don't stop. The film doesn't balance the genres very well, I feel. It kind of bounces all over the place. In the beginning, it's set up into this horror film. In the middle, it kind of turns in the middle of the beginning, it turns in kind of into an action film with the mercenaries. And then it turns into a dark comedy horror film right after that. It kind of just bounces around a little too much. And then at the very end, it tries to turn into this weird sci-fi grotesque family film.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on in this film, and it just doesn't balance very well.
It is a big mashup of genres.
Yeah, it's odd to me, and that's something that is a really big problem, because when I'm watching a film, I want to just kind of go with the flow and stay with the tone of things, and the tone in this film bounces all over the place, and it really bugs me.
Yeah, some people really like when genres sort of like bounce one way to another, or mashups and whatever, but this is not the movie for that. You can tell, and I think I've read an interview with Joss Whedon where he said the sort of mandate from 20th Century Fox was they wanted equal parts Alien and Aliens, and you can't do it. You either have a suspense movie or you have an action movie. You can't really have both, and I think he was on the right path by making it more grotesque and more horrible, more disturbing. That's what I was really getting into. Those are the best parts of the movie, I think, the more disturbing elements of it. But you have this like mandate of, well, we've got to have machine guns and we've got to have all these other things.
Right.
Big failure there.
Warwick from CSI, Christy in the movie has like these cool guns that like are attached to his body that only come into play once.
Only one time.
And that's just because they discover that they have weapons on them and then they uses them.
Yeah.
And he has this great scene where he bounces a bullet, which looks ridiculous. Something else about Warwick from CSI, because I will refuse to call him by his name because he's only Warwick to me. There's this scene in the film, and it's actually part of the bad because it's, to get into it, is the dialogue is really bad in this film. It's either written very poorly or a combination of written poorly and executed poorly.
That's your boy Joss Whedon you're talking about.
Look. Clearly, Joss Whedon can only handle Joss Whedon things, so I'm just going to go with that. The dialogue is not very good, and Joss Whedon obviously learned from this because his dialogue improves after this film.
Exponentially,
yes. But there's a scene where Sigourney Weaver, after coming up from the underneath the floor and shoots an alien through some dude's head.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. Great scene. That's something we should have mentioned in the good. There's this line of, who do I have to fuck to get off this boat?
Yeah.
And then Warwick's reaction is,
shocked.
What?
Yeah.
No, his eyes get bigger than anybody else in the scene. His eyes was like the biggest thing in that shot. Amazing, but horrible.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those scenes where it was nobody expected that line, perhaps, and the reaction was so natural for the guy, they just left it in.
Yeah, it's in the script.
It's in the script?
Oh, yeah.
That he's supposed to have these big, huge eyes?
No, but the line is in there, so it's not like they were unaware of it, but his reaction is perfect.
That's great. And then the basketball scene, that was...
I don't know what they were doing.
Why does Ron Perlman want to play basketball?
I don't think he does. I think he just wants to have sex with Sigourney Weaver.
I mean, I guess. I mean, he definitely alludes to that for sure.
Can I mention something that's good?
Yeah, sure. Before we get back into the bad?
The underwater scene.
Oh.
It's great.
Oh, I disagree.
Oh, what?
I disagree.
Come on.
This is a good talking point.
Yeah, okay, go.
All right, so in my...
Good, then I'm glad I brought it up now instead of earlier. I don't have to re-edit this part.
So in my opinion, I'll get back into what I was originally going to say in a second, but with the underwater scene,
Yeah.
you love it.
I do.
I do not.
Why?
To me, there's no stakes. There's no stakes in this shot.
They're going to get eaten.
They're going to get eaten. That's the only stakes that they have.
What else do you need?
I mean, there's nothing there.
They kill one of the main characters in that scene. I'm joking. She's a minor
I was
character.
going to say, like,
I don't
not
even,
a main character
I can't even remember her name.
It was horrible. Hillard. That was her name.
Oh,
Hillard. I remember this because the captain of the ship was, like, rubbing her feet earlier.
That's true.
And the only reason I remember that is because they say her name, like, right after that.
Right.
But I digress. It's one of the worst parts of the film for me.
Oh, come on. Worst?
The aliens look horrible.
I think they look good.
They have buck teeth.
They do have buck teeth.
They have horrible horse buck teeth.
Okay.
They look like swimming horses.
But they look good moving.
Okay.
I think they look good. I think they look good.
And the whole scene is built up into this almost Poseidon adventure. Why is there water on the ship to begin with?
Cooling towers.
Okay, so it completely floods, and
Yes.
there's no, like...
They're in the bottom of the ship.
There's no drain system at all on the bottom of the ship.
At the bottom of the ship, where's it going to go?
Out in space!
Everything's malfunctioning.
It's in space!
No.
I find this scene ridiculous.
I love this scene.
It's so ridiculous.
Oh, come on.
And how are they holding the breath that long?
Okay, look, I'm not gonna defend that.
You
Every
can
movie that
have-
takes place underwater, the characters hold their breath for way too long.
Yeah, it's completely true. It happens in Titanic. It happens in every
Mhm.
film where there's a lot of water. But, like, Ripley, okay, you can rationalize it. That
She's not human, yeah.
Part human. She's part alien. Cool. Everybody else, the guy that was formerly on a wheelchair is now attached to Warwick from CSI.
Yes.
And is not really holding his breath at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of screaming at the top of his lungs because there's
That's
aliens
true.
coming.
Yeah, he sees them first.
And yet he's not drowning at all.
Right.
And then they reached the end of this tunnel, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
This
They get to the
room.
elevator shaft, yeah.
So they get the elevator shaft, and it's covered in eggs. So it was a trap.
Yes.
So the
aliens planted a trap.
Somehow the aliens forced him into this water
Yes.
system, and to get them into this trap of all their eggs.
I love it.
What?
I love it.
It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's great.
And then this scene leads into a really pointless death of Warwick from CSI. Like,
Yeah, I'll
he
give you
gets
that.
blinded, not even blinded in both eyes, blinded in one eye.
Right, by
because
alien
of
blood.
Alien blood.
Formerly an irritant, but now we need it to be a little more
It
hardcore.
changes depending on the plot.
Yeah.
And then he just basically is like, I'm going to swan dive backwards into this pool.
Right.
And, die, apparently, because, I mean, when you're blind, you can't swim, apparently. I didn't like that shot in the film. I thought the effects looked great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there were some positives in that scene, but as far as part of the story,
Yes.
meant nothing to me.
Okay. But here's the thing. It's a great scene, and you're wrong.
I mean, you can literally have them cut out the water sequence,
Mm-hmm.
have them just lose the Hillard character, say, oh, yeah.
Anyone seen Hillard?
Anybody seen Hillard? Like, they don't even have to have that scene in there. Just have that same ladder sequence done completely on dry land.
Yes.
There's no reason for it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the aliens pop up through the floor, and that spits the acid to the blind guy. Then he sacrifices himself by trying to attack the aliens as opposed to just diving into a pool of water.
You could do that. But then it would make the movie bad.
What? This fire scene.
I'll go to my grave saying that the underwater scene in Alien Resurrection is a great scene.
I will go to my grave about saying the water scene in Alien Resurrection was pointless and did not need to be in the film.
I'd agree with you, but we'd both be wrong.
What? Alright, again, to get into something that was brought up a little bit while our debate over the water scene, I guess you would say?
No.
No?
There's no debate. It's a great movie. It's a great scene. Sorry if I just sprayed you
Cut
for
it
laughing
out.
so hard.
Anyway,
What a
cut
good
it
scene
out.
it is.
Oh my god. Something that bothers me as well in this film is the look of the aliens. In a pause moment where you get just one screenshot of an alien,
Yeah.
they look great. In the beginning of the film where there's three of them together and they're about to, kill one to break
Yeah.
out, they look great. As the film progresses, they go into the underwater scene, they go into all these other sequences, and they move, and they do all these weird things. They look too shiny. You see too much of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said in the water scene, they have buck teeth, and it's really disconcerting.
Well, you got to see that these aren't the actual aliens. These are hybrid aliens.
Is that why they have buck teeth?
Hybrid aliens are very, very famous for their buck teeth.
Really?
That's what I've read.
The hybrid lady in the film does not have buck teeth.
If I check my alien encyclopedia, hold on. Yes, they have buck teeth.
He looked at nothing. Do not believe a single word he says. No, like, that's something that was just seen way too much was the alien, entirely. I don't know if you agree with me there on that one, but I saw too much alien.
I think we should have seen more alien.
I think we saw too much alien. We never felt the alien. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There was no like pressure of the alien coming to get me. It was always just we know when it's coming.
Right.
We know. Oh, hey, there's aliens behind us. Mm-hmm. Let's run. Okay. How about we get a jump scare? There was only one jump scare, and that was the beginning of the film, where the alien grabs the doctor.
Yes.
Who's somehow still alive at the end of the film.
Well, of course, because they take them to be cocooned. That's in all of the movies.
But he's talking?
Yes.
He explains the whole scene at the end.
He does indeed.
The worst.
It's really bad.
Oh, my God.
No, I agree with you about that. I hate dialogue as exposition, and this guy is just there so he can tell us that there's a newborn being created.
I appreciate the fact that this movie was made in 1997, but even for a 1997 movie, like, okay, chalk it up to it being a 97 movie. I did not like the CGI in this movie very much.
Oh, really? Because I'm going to disagree with you again.
Oh, great!
Because there's a scene with the alien walking down a hallway that I think holds up to this day.
Which hallway was this? Was this the underwater hallway again?
No. Come on. We're not talking about a great scene. We're talking about a minor scene.
Right. We're talking about the horrible scene again.
Okay, so Elgin is killed, and then when Ripley shoots the alien through the thing, as the alien is approaching his body, it's walking down the hall, and it's completely CG in that scene. It's one of the few scenes in the movie where the alien is completely CG, and I think it looks awesome.
All right, you know what? You described that scene. I do agree. There, it looks awesome. In other shots of the film, where it's climbing up one of the escape pods.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's in motion. It's really bad. I think in that stagnant slow motion, it looks good.
Plus, in that scene, it was jumping out of water, and they hadn't really done any good CG water stuff, except for maybe,
Well, I'm not even talking that scene too, but I'm saying like there's a scene in the beginning of the film where it actually jumps into an escape pod and slaughters a bunch of people.
Yeah.
When it's crawling up into the escape pod, it looks bad there too.
Okay.
There's just moments in this movie where I felt like they didn't use enough practical when they should have. I mean, this is a sign of the times.
Sure.
This is when CGI is getting really big, is getting more prevalent, I would say, in the late 90s into the early 2000s. And it's kind of in that middle period of, it looks okay, but not great.
Right.
And then as it progresses in 2000s, it starts to look really good
Sure.
again. Is there more that you found bad, or am I just going to keep talking about this?
Oh, no, look, there's plenty bad in this movie. Why is anyone trusting Dr. Wren, one of the scientists who they bring along with as one of the survivors? He's clearly the villain of the piece.
Easily.
Why are they trusting him? When he finally turns on them, he actually says the line, "You're too trusting." Like, no shit, man.
Well, I mean, without him there to betray them, we would never find out that Call is actually an android, well, as they call it, a Auton.
Twist. Yes, she's we get our robot character in the form of Winona Ryder in this movie,
which explains the acting.
Ah, burn! Take that, Winona Ryder.
She's so great in so many different things. Stranger Things, especially. I said things like 4 times in that sentence, I think. But Stranger Things she was great in.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. Edward Scissorhands, Winona Ryder's great in as well.
I disagree with you about that.
Okay.
But okay.
But that's
Beetlejuice. Fantastic. She's great in Beetlejuice.
She is really great in Beetlejuice. Well, the character she plays is
the prototypical goth girl.
Yeah, I mean,
she spawned an entire generation.
Yeah, I mean, then you have her later work of like Mr. Deeds, where it wasn't that great. So I mean, she's hit or miss.
She is hit or miss.
This is definitely a miss.
Do you like her as Spock's mom?
She didn't bother me. She's just such a minor character. She's okay.
Yeah, she was just okay.
Yeah,
I was so excited that she was going to be Spock's mom.
If we ever do that movie or any of
she should have played a Vulcan, not a human.
She should have played Vulcan. That would have made more sense.
Right?
She's a great robot.
Totally, man.
If we ever do that movie, Eric Bana is my choice of talking about that movie.
Okay.
Eric Bana is fantastic at that film.
Yes.
As being a horrible B-movie villain. There's a lot of goo. I know we've mentioned it, but it's a bad thing for me. There's so much of it.
There is a lot of goo, but there's traditionally a lot of goo. Anytime an alien is around, there's goo.
Which makes, okay, fine. But like this movie is just like an extra level everywhere. They like every time they stopped rolling film, they just poured another bucket of goo on somebody.
That's true.
I mean, it's just ridiculous amount of KY jelly, goo, Jello, whatever they use. I don't know what they used. Was it like cornstarch and like KY? Like, what was it?
I have no idea.
It was so thick and gross.
Yeah, that's we can lay that at the feet of Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who slathered everything in everything.
It's horrible.
Creepy though.
There's I said it before. The dialogue, just to get into one particular quote that kind of sums up the whole thing.
Please.
Looks like a double cross, boss.
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Ooh.
And my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yes.
12. 12? 12? They say 12 like 3 times.
Oh, yeah, that's the number of aliens that are left.
What? They just repeat the number 12.
Yeah, and they're wrong because there are now more or less. You know, speaking of repeating things,
right?
This is because we watched the director's cut, and there's a scene where Elgin, the captain, the mercenary captain, is dealing with Dan Hidea's sort of General Perez character, and he's laying out the ground rules that they can stay on his ship if they, 1, do not go into restricted areas, and number 2, mind their own business, like they don't cause any trouble. No fights. No fights? No fights. No fights. They say it back and forth. Which, when I watched it the first time, I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then I watched it again, I was like, I kind of like it.
So, the rules of the ship is there's no fights.
No fights.
Let me get this straight. No fights?
No fights.
I still don't get it. Is there no fights?
No fights.
You can't fight at all.
No fights.
Yeah,
and stay out of restricted areas.
Oh, and stay out of restricted areas. Excuse me. Yes, there's.
I like that scene.
Ah, man, I didn't. There's the dialogue.
Also, they have little cubes that turn into scotch.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you didn't watch the movie?
I watched the movie, but that was such a minor scene.
He had like a little gelatinous cube that he drops into a thing, and then like a laser hits it, and it turns into scotch, and they both drink it. I thought it was great.
That's cool.
Look, I think it actually makes up for the breath-controlled security doors.
All right. What was that?
I don't know.
Who thought of that?
I'm guessing Jean-Pierre Jeunet came up with that one.
Why would you... It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, well, we've never seen this before, so let's put it in.
I want to know... there's so many questions I have about this breath security... There's so many questions I have about this breath security thing. Is it DNA-based?
Yes.
Is it moisture-based?
Yes.
Is it something to do with, like, the amount of breath you put on it? Like, I don't... It's all those things.
It's all those things.
Then Winona Ryder Call has... like these
little aerosol cans, that
have all these different breath.
Yeah, I love how many there are.
There's so many, and she uses a couple.
Yeah.
And like,
nope, wrong one. Okay, let me try this one.
And it doesn't set off an alarm?
No.
Because what is up with the?
I don't know.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that breath thing.
I will go with you on that. I'm not a fan of the breath thing. I remember thinking like, wow, that's different when I first saw it, and then immediately after thought, that's really stupid.
That's the exact thought I had. I was like, oh, that's cool, and then, oh, wait, that's horrible.
No, that's idiotic. Why would they ever do that?
Why would you do that? What, you have a hand that can work? You could have anything.
Retinal scan facial recognition, fingerprints. How about a key? Here's another thing that I did not like about this movie. I can't get through the goddamned airport without taking off my shoes, but somehow every member of the Betty comes on with a weapon. Are you kidding?
Okay, look, so the
wheelchair guy is the only guy who gets a pass.
Okay, well, Boric from CSI, he had it in his coat, so they didn't pat him down, obviously.
Give me a break. Where are the scanners? This is...
Okay, and then wait, come on, Ron Perlman thermos?
Get out of here.
That was amazing.
They can smell at the airport explosives. They couldn't find the explosives in them.
They're also the same security company that did not build a holding cell that could contain...
All right, I guess we can give him a pass. I'm not going to give him a pass. All of the weapons should have been on the wheelchair, and then they should have disassembled it as soon as they got to themselves.
Yeah.
I'm making the movie better right now, I guess. We haven't gotten to that point, but...
We're almost there.
Good Lord, don't. But, I know they need to get their weapons on, because they need to be armed, but... This is not the way to do
It
it.
could have had one scene where they broke into an armory. Like, there could have been so many different things.
Yeah, man. Or how about they're such badasses that when the soldiers surround them, they're able to take out all those soldiers and take their weapons.
Or just sit there and have a point where the main security officer is just going to let them in because they brought in such valuable cargo, and they let them pass by the rules.
Or how about they got it in through the cargo, and like before they hand it over, they pull the stuff out. Something. There are many ways that they could have accomplished this. Also, speaking of the thermos that turns into a pistol, clearly Joss Whedon is a big fan of like cups or liquid containers that turn into other things, because he wrote Cabin in the Woods, where the guy's coffee cup turns into a bong.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. Thermos turns into a machine gun, coffee cup turns into a bomb.
That's a trend. That seems more like a coincidence.
No, it's the same guy.
Yeah,
he's a genius, you know.
I didn't say he was a genius. I just said he made a good couple movies.
Yeah, he did make a couple good movies. Is this one of them?
No.
Yes, it is.
It's a horrible movie.
This is a great movie.
Another thing that really bugs me in this film, what's the motivation of the mercenaries? I don't understand.
Money!
No. Why are they there, and why do they care if the aliens go to Earth?
Okay. They're there because they're bringing cargo.
Yes,
they were hired.
Just leave right away.
Because they were going to spend a couple of days eating their food and stealing their parts.
When shit goes down, why aren't they leaving right away?
They do. They immediately go to the Betty. Shit goes down, the alarms go off, and like the first thing they say is, "We got to get to the Betty. How do we get there?" The whole movie is about them getting to the Betty.
I just don't understand why they care about anything in their film. They're mercenaries.
They don't. The only character who cares is Call, the android played by Winona Ryder.
A motionless robot?
Yes. That's something I like. I like that the only person who cares about humanity is not a human.
Well, isn't one of Sigourney Weaver's lines about how, that explains why you're so humane is because you're not
human.
Yeah,
yes. It's a good line.
It is a good line. That was pretty good. That was actually a positive mark on the dialogue. There's so many negatives that it doesn't count.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad dialogue. I agree. It's better than Alien 3, though.
Is it?
Yes. You know what? When we were watching this, when I watched it for the first time,
right,
I thought, like, geez, I don't know that we can improve this movie this much. Let me look at the other movies in the Alien series and see if there isn't something we can do. You can't improve Alien. You can't improve Aliens.
No, they're great films.
Alien 3, the only way you can make it better is to rewrite it from the ground up.
Right.
So then I watched.
Too much work.
So then I watched Alien vs. Predator.
Interesting.
Garbage.
Really?
Beginning to end.
Is that the one that has the hybrid alien Predator?
That's Alien vs. Predator 2. That's Alien Predator Requiem.
They made a sequel?
Yeah, man.
What?
Ugh.
I just missed that film completely.
This was the one that took place in Antarctica in a pyramid under the ice.
I've seen that one, yeah.
Garbage.
Okay. No, recalling it, it wasn't really good. Nobody wins,
so
right?
Bad.
The Predator wins?
Yeah, they kill the alien queen.
They kill it. Oh, but there's a chest burster in the Predator at the very end.
Yes.
Right? So the alien wins.
Everybody wins.
Oh,
it's
goodness.
like Freddy versus Jason.
You know who doesn't win? The humans.
Yeah, that's funny.
Everybody dies.
Because that was the tagline for the movie. Like, whoever wins, we lose, we lost.
Yeah, we lost big time on that film. We lost big time on that film if you even paid for that.
That's what I'm saying. You paid money for that movie,
goodness.
You lost.
And they had a sequel? It made that much money?
Until Prometheus made the most money of any of them.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Even with inflation of Alien?
I think so.
Wow, that's horrible.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Because people like mashups, like Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman, Aliens versus Predator.
Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah, do it all.
I don't know.
Let's have all the characters meet all the characters.
I mean, that's what they're going to do in Universal.
That Patton Oswalt thing where on Parks and Rec where he's like mashing up the Star Wars and the Marvel universe.
Right. That's how they get into the Star Wars universe with the Infinity Stones or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why not?
No, don't do it. Don't stop this immediately. Don't do another Alien vs. Predator movie. We beg of you. Having said that, don't let Ridley Scott make any more movies. I'm gonna go see Covenant. Maybe it's good. Prometheus was garbage.
What was another movie Ridley Scott has done recently that was not good? Was it the
all of them? You got anything else bad, Holden?
I'm actually okay. I got everything I needed to say out.
Okay, I got something. Now, this is not necessarily germane to this film. This is just sort of a pet peeve I have. You've seen Star Wars.
Yes, I like Star Wars.
Who doesn't like Star Wars?
Some people.
Can you tell me what race Han Solo is?
He's human.
He's human, but is he from a particular planet or anything? Do you know?
I'm not the biggest Star Wars nerd. I'm sure he's from a particular planet.
Corellian.
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 Okay.
Now, you can go buy a T-shirt right now that has the Millennium Falcon, and it's made by the Corellian Corporation or something.
Okay.
You know why that is?
Why?
Because he mentions Corellian one time in one movie, and suddenly we've applied that to everything.
Right.
And he says it. He's not even referring to himself or the Millennium Falcon, other than the fact that he's saying that the Millennium Falcon can outrun not only your local bulk cruisers, but I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now. He's not referring to himself, not referring to his ship. He's referring to some whole other third thing. Okay. In the movie Aliens, for one moment, they call these aliens xenomorphs.
Oh, I've been using that the whole podcast.
I know you have. Now they're xenomorphs.
Right.
Now, every time I read any article about them, they're talking about xenomorphs. Is that their actual name now? I like them as aliens. The alien. I like that it's they've co-opted the word alien and made it like if you say the word alien now, I'm going to think of this creature with a banana head and a mouth that comes out and
banana head. Oh my god, I'm going to call them banana heads from now on.
Yes, let's give xenomorphs called the banana heads.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
thank you for that.
I don't know that that's necessarily a problem with this movie. It's just something I've noticed in genres where you mention one thing and then suddenly it takes on a life of its own. It's really weird.
Thank you so much for banana head. You don't understand.
They have a banana head. I'm looking at one.
I'm never going to call them xenomorph ever again.
Banana heads.
It's banana heads. Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll take it from here. How do we fix this movie, Holden?
All right. For me, the number one thing, and really my only thing that I need to fix in this film, is less aliens seen on the screen. I've mentioned it in the bad parts, but less aliens, less hybrids, less banana heads all over the film. Just less of them. There's not enough serious tone in this film for me to actually get scared. And that's something I think they're really trying to push, unless you're buying into the whole dark comedy bit, which, okay, there's some tone of that. But to go with the rest of the franchise, there needs to be this serious tone of this is a horror, this is a alien attack, this is a banana head coming to get me. There's not enough of that. There's not enough tone that fits the rest of this franchise. This movie, call it something else, and it's a completely different sci-fi film. And
I agree with
you
that.
And you just change the look of the alien, and it actually looks okay. It actually holds up as this weird B-movie.
Like a parody of the alien movies.
Of the alien movies, yes, exactly. And it would actually be more enjoyable because you're not going in with expectations of an alien film. So with less aliens, you have more of this creepiness of the unknown, of something coming to get me, of just this general feel of terror that something's ripping these people away. The underwater scene in particularly, I know we...
Oh, the best scene in the movie, you mean?
The worst scene in the movie. No, it's definitely not the worst scene in the movie. Let me retract that. But you did not see the aliens. It maybe just got them the tails whipping. Or just a shot of their backs kind of swimming in the water. Adds more a layer of, like, this is creepy, this is scary.
Sure.
These things are coming after them. Maybe
so you subscribe to the whole Jaws theory of horror. Like, the less seen, the better.
Less seen, the better. I especially in this film, because in the time period we're in of sort of good CGI, the time period of goo and slime makes everything look scary.
Yeah.
Which I disagree with.
I agree with you.
It needs to be less of them. And especially when it comes to the hybrid newborn, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, the plantain of the alien universe, if you want to say.
Yeah, you could say.
Banana heads, now he's a plantain.
He is white.
It's very creepy. It is extremely gooey, translucent skin almost.
Very fleshy. Very
fleshy. Has like a weird no jaw. It has like a top jaw, but then the under jaw is so underneath it, it's like a huge overbite.
Yeah.
Really weird, gross eyes.
Yeah.
I think if you cut out a lot of the imagery of this newborn, you have more of a vibe of what's Ripley doing?
Right.
She's kind of gone crazy. Why is this thing following her? Why is she, especially at the very, very end of the film where she lures it to a specific spot? That's the first and only time you should see this alien.
I agree.
You know, a quick glances here, maybe a shot of its hands here and there would work, especially when Call is being clawed at by the
Call claws
by the hybrid. That you shouldn't see the alien's face ever in that scene. You should just see the hands going after it.
Less is more.
Less is more. I subscribe to the school of thought in this film. Less would be more.
Okay.
That's my number one thing to fix, and I think you can do it easily with editing the film, changing a few things around, different sequences. I mean, it's a pretty easy fix when you start thinking about it.
Here's my big fix.
Yes.
Ripley should be the main villain in this movie.
Interesting.
I think they made her weird enough that it wouldn't be out of bounds. The character Call is suspicious of her from the get-go. I think they should have gone with that entirely. I think she should have been with the crew for about half the movie, and then she should have sided with the aliens. She should have been directing the aliens. Maybe she could have killed the Queen. I think it could have been freaky and weird and exactly what this movie needed.
That'd be cool, too, is if she actually lured one of the mercenaries, had sex with them, and then gives birth to the hybrid itself.
Yeah.
And have the hybrid kind of grow quickly because it's a human-alien hybrid.
Right. Yeah. Well, in this version, I wouldn't even have the hybrid because the hybrid ends up being the sort of main villain. I'm making air quotes. You can't see that, but I am. Becomes the main villain of the movie. I would do away with the hybrid entirely and just have Ripley be your main villain. It would be awesome.
Well, doing away with the hybrid is actually something I would just love in general. Good old wiggle nose, as I will now refer to it.
I think if they were going to keep the hybrid, then it needed to be introduced much earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
It's not some big, crazy twist. Either go for it or don't. Don't give us the 10 minutes of some new creature. Like, if you're going to do it early, have it wipe out all of the aliens, and then have it be the primary antagonist for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a callback to the first Alien movie when Ripley first meets the hybrid. I will say, with the hybrid, though, if you do what I said and have it where it's less is more, I think you have more of an impact of a villain. And even with the way it's shot currently, less of that alien scene, the better. Because it is so grotesque, because it is so...
Oh, I agree with you. Looking. But I think they should have just done away with it entirely.
Interesting.
I think having Ripley freak out on everybody and sort of become the new alien queen. Like, have her. How about this? How about have her be the hybrid? How about, like, you mentioned The Fly earlier? Have her slowly becoming more and more alien as the movie goes along.
Oh, that would be amazing.
You know, like her limbs growing weirder and like her head extending, and like it could have been fantastic. A new queen. Missed the boat.
Yeah, you know, thinking about it, that's actually a really cool idea, having her kind of go the Fly route.
And we've got 3 movies of her being this heroine and, fighting the aliens. Maybe the solution is to not fight the aliens. Maybe the solution is the humans are the problem. Because another thing that you don't really consider, because any movie, you go with whoever they tell us to go with as the hero, right? These mercenaries are bad people. Their whole involvement in this is that they've stolen a shipment of human beings. This is, they keep referring to them as cargo, but they steal these people who are in cryosleep, who then they're bringing them to a medical facility. There's no way that they have any illusions that these people aren't going to be experimented on in some way. They do it for cash, and they all need to be punished, man. And I think in the war of humans versus aliens, Ripley should fall on the side of aliens.
It goes to the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, and exactly. She's fought them for so long that at this point, she's not even really human anymore. She's more alien than that, and I think it would have been a shocker if she turned into an alien.
Yeah, actually, one of the problems I was actually going to suggest to fix is maybe bringing Ripley into more of the alien, abilities. Like, they didn't have her enough to show, like, yeah, she had acid blood, but they didn't really do anything else past that.
No.
She could sort of sense the aliens coming.
Yeah.
Which, again, is something that, like, lessens the terror, because you have this superhuman person with you, so maybe turning her into the evil person would definitely add some sense of terror. I'd actually, thinking about it more and more, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And in fact, just thinking about it now, just spitballing it on top of my head, you could have it where the scientists themselves is setting it up, where the scientist sets up the hybrid theory, the theory of there's a hybrid on the ship, and it ends up being Ripley, dad of what is born.
Exactly. Maybe whoever the scientist is, Getterman or Wren or whoever, like, they've played these military people. They've said, we're going to get this queen out of her, and we're going to give you these aliens, and that's going to give you what you need. But really, he knows that this new alien human hybrid will be Ripley herself.
Yeah, which it would be something great as kind of like the big reveal in the climax of the film. No, there's 2 hybrids.
Yeah.
And then you have the hybrids battle each other, and Ripley just makes quick work of the ugly, gross nose wiggle thing.
Sure.
And kills the queen, and then now it's Ripley versus these mercenaries.
Yes.
Great. That sounds great.
And Ripley wins. That's how this movie should end. The aliens should win.
She lands on Earth.
Yeah, man. They put down thinking they're safe, but Ripley's there. She gets off that ship.
I would enjoy that.
All of humanity is doomed.
And you know what? I don't even think you have to waste the whole mercenary crew. I think you can have them...
have them be alive.
Have them in a completely different ship.
Mm-hmm.
Have them crash land and survive in a... I don't know, in the holding thing that can't hold up against acid. They can survive the ship.
Oh, no, I think she should be on the ship with them. I think they should, like, land, and then Ripley's like, see ya, and they're like, oh, God, what have we done?
Means to an end kind of moment where...
Yeah, you know what? I said that they're bad people and they need to be punished, but maybe that's the punishment. They have to live with the knowledge that they wiped out all of humanity.
Yeah, I like that. That's not bad. Something else I would like to bring in would be more of a connection to... Weyland-Yutani. I felt like it was missing in this film. I mean, yes, they had the one line of like, oh, it got bought out by Walmart.
Yeah, because it's 200 years later, so they wouldn't still be around, right?
Sense of higher above this science facility. It was a military operation, and there was no sense of like, oh, we got to do this because. They're just doing it because they can. They're not doing it because we want to make super soldiers. We want to discover more about these aliens. We want to... There was no reasoning behind their cloning, I felt, or they didn't give you a reason why there was cloning, why there was the happenings that were going on. So I felt like there was no... Like, again, there was no weight to this film. Like, the other Alien movies, maybe the exception number 3, I haven't watched number 3 in a long time. So I'm just talking about the first 2 films. There was weight. There was like, this is here for a reason. We are doing this for a reason. They're attacking us. Like, there's so many different layers of, like, why it's there as opposed to this film.
Yeah, that company needed to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who set the first film in motion. They have the Nostromo set down and find them to begin with. They're the ones pushing the second film. They show up at the end of the third film, like another version of Weyland, played by Lance Henriksen, Bishop, shows up at the end of the film. Right. You think it's the actual guy, but it's just another android. Oh, so there is an android in part 3.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. And, that needed to come to a head. How about this for an idea to fix the movie? How about... The only time we see outer space is the mercenary crew arriving, right? And we see them flying through space and getting on their comms and saying, hey, we're going to land, or we're going to dock, whatever. And it turns out the whole movie is taking place on Earth. Because we're in a facility, we would have no other idea where we were. And that's like Weyland-Yutani headquarters. So then... If you have Ripley be this villain character, she's actually doing good because she's going to destroy the entire company.
We're going to get into more of our hopes and dreams and hopeful futures of this franchise.
Yeah.
And I would like to go ahead and point out that I would like to see this franchise go serialized. Maybe go into a route of Netflix, of the HBOs, of something where there's more story-based.
Yeah.
With the alien, with the Weyland-Yutani. That's a good way to bring it in, is have it be the Weyland-Yutani show, and and have it tie in. And the alien is more of a special effect and not a mainstay of the show.
Yeah, like what else are those people up to, those Weyland-Yutani people?
Really,
like, what other aliens have they found?
What other genetics, things are they doing? They're obviously... They have cloning, so maybe you can tie in that. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can do. There's something I wouldn't mind seeing is also kind of tying in the Blade Runner universe into a degree. Not like a complete tie-in where, like, oh, there's going to be an alien versus a replicant, or Deckard's going to find an alien. But something of just, like, subtle mentions, kind of like how Marvel does Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix shows. There's a big incident in the Marvel movies. The Netflix show makes mention of it.
There's no reason that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation could not be part of the Blade Runner universe.
I mean, it absolutely makes sense, especially with the end of this film and Alien Resurrection. We see Earth as like this complete wasteland.
Yeah.
Well, LA might be still cool.
Yeah, right. I think that's implied, actually. Yeah. That they set down in an uninhabited part of Earth.
So it's kind of like one of those things where it's maybe there. I want something official. I want to see the banana head pop up as like a pet in a Blade Runner future film or something ridiculous.
Something ridiculous.
Like, it would be fun. It would be a fun thing. There's not enough fun anymore in film when it comes to these kind of movies and franchises. Like,
movies are supposed to be entertaining.
You're supposed to be entertained. You're supposed to have fun in the franchise. You're supposed to be walking out being like, oh my god, I can't believe we just saw that.
Yeah, I mean, as sort of dark as the universe is, you can't deny how fun the movie Aliens is.
Exactly.
Nobody left that movie not feeling good.
Or even the first Alien, where it was like so creepy, it was so different.
Very cathartic when she blasts that alien out and survives. Absolutely.
There was some great fun in that film, and different definitions apply.
Oh, I will say this. The future of the franchise should be left in the hands of those guys that made Alien Isolation. That is a great game. I suggest anyone out there pick up that game and play it. It's fantastic. If you like that first Alien movie, good lord, it's good. Anyway, that's all.
All right, I would like to close out the podcast on something that's my favorite line in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it is delivered by Winona Ryder, which is not something I thought I would think of when I think of a favorite line in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And the line is, if those things get loose, it's going to make the Lacerda Plague look like a fucking square dance.
Great line.
It's fantastic, and it's
ridiculous.
It's unexpected.
Yes.
And I think that's what really made it stand out to me. It was just such an unexpected thing said by an android that's very emotionalist, but she remembers this plague like it's a horrible thing. Like, it's great.
Yeah, any good references to things that these characters would all know that we don't, and they don't bother to explain. I love those sorts of things.
Right. I mean, anything that kind of bring in some backstory for somebody.
Yeah, it only adds to the
character and why you like him. Yeah.
Completely. My favorite line in the movie is delivered by Dan Hedaya, and it might be just the way he delivers the line, which is they're reviewing the fact that Ripley is now alive, that they've kept a clone alive. And they're walking, and one of the doctors says, "You're not thinking about termination, are you?" And he says, "Oh boy, am I thinking about termination." It's a great line. Like, it's so true to that character. It's I don't know, I love it.
It's kind of a shame he goes down the way he does.
He does. You know, in the original script, how he died was he grenades that lifeboat.
Right.
Which is, he's actually a pretty noble character. I mean, he's involved in these horrible things, but like he loves his men, you know, as a military man does. But he is protecting a group of soldiers, and he kills an alien, and the alien's blood hits a window, and then he gets sucked out the window.
Oh!
And so that was in the original script, and then Jean-Pierre Jeunet went, "That's a great death. Let's move that to the end of the movie."
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Because the original ending of the movie took place on Earth.
Okay.
So what happened is they land that ship, and then the newcomer,
Newborn.
Yeah, the newcomers are from V, which is a TV series from a million years ago. Anyway, the newborn gets off, and they fight, and they kill it on Earth. They throw it into a trash compactor, basically, and smush it. But this was a better ending. Anyway, that's all I got, folks.
All right, and I believe that will be it for our show. Thank you for listening. First off, I'd like to plug in some places where you can follow us. Follow us on Facebook. It's the We'll Take It From Here group page, fan page. I don't know what you exactly call it. I'm new to this.
Yeah, me too.
We have an email, WTIFHS@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter under that same handle, WTIFHS. My name is Holden, a.k.a. Cuban Thor. You can find me at CubanThor88 on Twitter.
I'm Father Malone. I'm not on Twitter, but you can
get there.
You can get me on Instagram, I guess, Father Malone.
And in final words, I would like to thank Captain Cold of the patron saint of podcasting, and goodbye.
He blesses us. Say catchphrase.
Catchphrase.
Awesome.